Yeah. Brice and DC. The Sideline Sports Show. Fort Wayne to the world. Brice got the box score, calm on the mic. Pulling up numbers from last Friday night. Sack gyms packed, rivalries loud. He'll tell you who balled out, who hyped the crowd. DC slide in with the hold up weight. Spicy little rant, that's a hot take plate. Coach talk, Pacers talk, all in the mix. Midwest mind with that ESPN fix. Hey! Sideline Sports Show, Brice and DC. From the Fort Wayne courts to the big TV. Indiana Hoosiers dream.
It's the Sideline Sports Show with Brice and DC on a Sunday morning here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it feels earlier because
we lost that hour, man.
Yeah, we lost that hour. I woke up and I was like, "Gosh, it's not that early." And then the clock is an extra hour ahead, and I'm like, "Whoa, it's already 9 o'clock." So yeah, lost an hour, but we are still here at 11 a.m. as we are every Sunday morning here on YouTube, Facebook, or our DC Hendricks X account. Make sure you guys are tuning in live each week. Make sure you subscribe, follow the show, and you'll get updates from us, including who we're having on the show. And we got a jam-packed show for you this week. We have a lot to get into as far as basketball at the high school level, college level. We have some local soccer that we're going to talk about, including Fort Wayne FC, who just got their season started last night down in Florida. We're going to have Director of Corporate Partnerships, Garrett Martz, on the show to talk about, just the start of the season. I don't think we're going to talk about, a whole lot of game action, but the season gets underway in earnest for them as it did last night. But they have their first home match coming up in a couple months at the new stadium. And we'll see. We'll see if they're playing there because it's the stadium is still in progress. I imagine that they still will play out there for their first game. Then we'll have Homestead boys basketball coach Chris Johnson on the show at noon today after the Spartans won their second straight sectional championship over Wayne last night. They absolutely dominated, winning 80-48. We'll talk some other high school boys basketball sectional champs last night. Then we'll get into some college basketball, including Indiana and Purdue, both falling yesterday, as well as the 31-0 Miami Redhawks. DC's out. DC's out on the Redhawks just mere days after we have their head coach on our show. He is out. Plus, Team USA, yes, hat finally came in the mail.
There it is.
2-0 in the World Baseball Classic. We'll talk about them a little bit later on in the show as they take on Mexico tomorrow night in Houston.
Yeah, our hat game is on fire. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. You got the Flamingos on. I got Team USA on. We're both ready for baseball. That's what it really speaks to. And it's starting to feel like baseball weather outside as the days go by. And we are a part of the Get Indiana Podcast Network. Make sure you get to getindiana.com for everything Indiana, from festivals and event blog posts to following Nate Spangle travel around the Hoosier State, visiting 1,000 towns in Indiana this year. That's his goal. We'll see if he can do it. You can also find our show on there at getindiana.com. Make sure you subscribe to their newsletter at the top of their site. And we thank them very much for allowing us to be on their network. DC, how we doing this morning, man?
I'm doing good. You mentioned losing an hour of sleep, so dealing with that. Take that for what you want. Doing pretty good, though, man. WBC is rolling, enjoying the World Baseball Classic more than ever.
Yeah.
The baseball fan in me just absolutely loves the WBC. It wouldn't be so special if we had it every year, but I wish we had it every year. It's just that good. But, yeah, enjoying that. Not enjoying college hoops these days as a Purdue fan. I'm sure you're not either as an Indiana fan. So just looking forward to baseball season at this point, brother.
As far as I'm concerned, the college basketball season's over. So
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
No, in my mind, I'll enjoy the tournaments, but I'm not gonna really enjoy it that much.
I forgot last week you already checked out.
I checked out last week, and this week just kind of further confirmed that after Indiana lost by what feels like 1 million on the road once again, even though it wasn't that bad. But it just, the way that this team performs, it's ridiculous. Moving on. We'll get back to the Hoosiers later on. I want to talk about some high school boys basketball sectional champs. We had Homestead, as I mentioned at the top of the show. We also had Snyder, both in Class 4A. We had Columbia City over Northwood. I don't know if you saw DC at halftime for that game was 10-8 at halftime.
I did not
10 to
see
8.
that. 10
I
to
think
8.
the game finished in the 30s. I know we had a friend.
Wish I knew the story on that. Were they just holding the ball, taking advantage of that shot clock, or did they just shoot like 3% from the field?
I want to say it was kind of a slow the tempo kind of game. I could be mistaken though, because I mean there was more points scored in the second half. I think the score ended up being that the finals was like in the 30s.
Oh, okay. I was
So
gonna say, what was the final score? 20-10.
I don't know, but there was another game in Indiana that I think the winner of the section championship only scored 18 points.
That's crazy.
I can't remember where in Indy it was, but I saw
Terrible.
Ned Rep tweet it this morning. We also had New Haven, Blackhawk Christian. All three of those were in 3A. Blackhawk Christian was pushed to the brink by both DeKalb and East Noble up at DeKalb in that sectional. And when we had Westview, they continued on their dominant role through the sectional after they defeated Lakeland. They're 24-1 now, probably have the best chances out of the area to get down to Indianapolis. Then we had Bishop Lures and Canterbury also winning sectional championships last night. And it's just getting into this mode of basketball and postseason basketball. I'm super excited to see because we had Dan Vance on last week talking about high school basketball after the girls tournament finished up, and we had 3 teams down in the state finals from the area. And it feels like after we get through sectional week, it's like I said, I feel like Westview might have the best chances just because of they're in Class 2A. They're just dominating everybody this past season, only have 1 loss. It feels like it could be difficult for the rest of the teams that I mentioned that were sectional champions to make it that far. Who knows? We might have one surprise us, but in the last few years, it's been very difficult. We only had really 1 team each in the last 3 years make it down to Indianapolis, and I'm not so sure we have more than 1 make it down to Indy on the boys' side this year. It just doesn't feel like that with how the teams are stacked up and how deep it is in some of those.
Yeah, I mean, like the only team that I think we should watch, Westview is obviously the safe pick to go there if you're going to talk about who has the best chances to advance. But a team I want you to also pay attention to that I don't think enough people are talking about, Bishop Lures, Brice.
Okay.
Don't sleep. Back-to-back sectional championships. What Seth Coughing is doing with Bishop Lures we cannot underestimate what he's doing with Bishop Lures too. A team that, Kamani Davis and L. Taylor, they got a lot of talent at Bishop Lures that I don't think a lot of people understand. I think they have a little bit of what it could take to make a little bit of a deeper run. I thought Bluffton would give them a little bit more of a matchup in that sectional championship, especially having their home crowd there, being on site. I thought Bluffton would have gave them a little bit more of a fight, but Bishop Lures just looked head and shoulders above them better in that game. And Bishop Lures, I think, is a team to watch as well.
Yeah, I think if there was another team that I'm excited to see what they can do is Columbia City, just because they've been building these last few years, and then getting through the sectional, even though in a low scoring game, it still feels like that's a team that has been, like I said, building for the last few years, and this might be a year where they can make a run because just getting past like a team like Northwood, who has been, pretty dominant in Class 3A on this side of the state, has made runs to the state finals. It just feels like each time one of our local teams runs up against Northwood, that's kind of been like a bugaboo, especially I think to like a team like West Noble, who a few years ago ran into Northwood multiple times in the regular season and sectional championships and sectional semifinals and weren't able to get past them. But a team like Columbia City getting over that Northwood, proverbial hump, it just feels like, okay, maybe you got one big one out of the way. Now you can, get onto regional and you can see what you do there, because regional obviously is just a one game tournament. as to where it was a few years ago, where you had to win 2 games on a Saturday, and that's been flipped with semi-state. So I'm interested to see. We have a lot of matchups, and I know some of the regional sites have been set. We have teams spread out across Northern Indiana, teams going to Logansport, Plymouth, a couple going to Huntington North. So it should be an interesting regional weekend next weekend, and we'll have coverage for you here on the Sideline Sports Show as after we come out of those matchups. We'll get back to high school basketball coming up at noon when we have Homestead boys basketball coach Chris Johnson after the Spartans are sectional champs once again.
Hopefully, he did warn me that I might have to walk him through on how to use the video. He reminded as soon as I asked him to come on, he's like, "You do know I'm old as dirt, right?" I'm like, "What does that mean?" I mean, your high school coach. You've had to use Zoom before at some point,
yeah.
And so we'll see how it goes. But Chris Johnson scheduled to be on.
All right. Well, we'll try to get Coach on. Even if we get his audio, we'll try to have him on. Back in the old radio days. DC, I before we were getting rolling on the show here, you and I were talking before we hit live that, and I saw you might have tweeted about it. It was like, you're out on Miami of Ohio. We just had Coach Travis Steele on this past Monday. He was fortunate. He was kind enough to join us. It wasn't during. We tried to have him on the show live last Sunday.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to make it. He had scheduling conflict, so we had him in just a separate interview. It's still relevant if you want to go back and watch it on our feed.
Still undefeated.
Yeah, still undefeated. So everything that he said kind of still rings true. They narrowly escaped both games this past week against Toledo, and then had to go to overtime to beat Ohio on their home floor yesterday, or was that Friday? I can't remember. There's been a blur of tweets about Miami and the way that they reacted after winning that game. Their whole bench goes straight over to the Ohio student section and gives them double birds. And after seeing some double birds from the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, DC is out on America's team.
Yeah, like, was that, you're a team that is, being talked about from the national media to possibly not make the tournament.
Yeah.
So you would think that, bringing any, negativity to your program right now wouldn't even be an option. Like, there's no reason for that. I don't care what the circumstances are. You are, I don't want to say raised, but you are taught or should be taught to rise above. I don't know what, obviously I wasn't on the court, so don't know what kind of stuff was being said, what kind of, things were being brought up on the court, but there's no reason to be, like right now, they are the talk of college basketball.
Yeah.
There's no team being talked about more than Miami, Ohio. And now, and it's positive, right? Like before it was mostly positive because
mostly positive except for Bruce Pearl.
I was gonna say unless you're Bruce Pearl, like who cares what he has to say?
Yeah.
He's like 80 years old. Who cares what he has to say at this point? Who cares, bro? Like, but people that aren't ancient are talking positive about Miami, Ohio. They're undefeated. Everybody with the brain knows that if you're undefeated, that's enough to get you into the tournament. I don't care who you play. You're a Division I basketball team. You're in the tournament. There's 64 plus teams. What are we doing here? Like, you telling me an undefeated team out of 64, 68 teams can't make the tournament? You're crazy. So all positive, and then they do that, and it just takes all the positive talk away from your program. There was no reason for that. They lost me, Brice.
It makes me more in on this team than I've ever been.
How? Really? More in?
More in. College basketball needs a villain, man. They, like, who can you – because no longer is Kentucky the villain. Duke is, still kind of be that villain, but everybody's kind of gotten used to. They're number one in the country. But, like –
Speaking of Kentucky, we were talking about our college teams earlier, Jeff. Feel what I am, Kentucky lifelong fan. Yeah, Kentucky, it's rough for Kentucky right now too.
Yeah, it's rough for some Midwest basketball teams right now. I feel like they need the villain of the season. I think they get the attitude from their coach. Like you said, I don't know what was said. I don't think anything was said amongst the players. I could be wrong, but it felt like they went straight for the student section. So there must have been some things coming from that student section that, apparently crossed the line. And for them to go straight over there, yeah, I didn't love it, but I like the attitude about it, because this team has been embracing this, and it feels like that they are embracing what their head coach has been talking about. I loved his answer post game about what is your argument for getting into the tournament if you don't win the MAC tournament. He's like, dude, we're 31-0. That's it. And then he walks off. I thought that kind of encapsulates what this team is about right now, and they're embracing that role of it's us against everybody. And like you said, there's been a lot of people that have been on their side positively, saying regardless of how the MAC tournament finishes, that this team should be in the tournament. And I think we're both in alignment that they should be in the tournament because of what they've been able to do this season. Yes, the competition hasn't been great. Yes, everybody says, oh, they should be defeating these mid-level to low-level MAC teams by 20 or more points. Well, they haven't. They've been surviving week after week, game after game, going to overtime against 500 teams, and we've all heard about the struggles of them being able to schedule these big boys, and it just feels like that their attitude is just not just directed at the Ohio student section, but it's directed at the rest of college basketball. Like, we're here, whether you like it or not. And we're undefeated, whether you like it or not. Take this middle finger and shove it right where you know what. And I think that this is good for college basketball. It gives you another story other than Duke and Kentucky and whoever else. It shines a light on a mid-major team that I think hopefully gets into the tournament and does something once they get there. I just think that this has been a fun story, and
It was.
You think it was? It's not fun anymore.
The reason I agree with partly what you said, so it definitely sounds like if you were to watch pro wrestling, you would be a heel guy. You would love the bad guys. What it sounds like, which I do too. Okay, I do too. But let's be real here. Miami, Ohio was not in a position to be the villain, Brice. They're trying to fight for their program to be recognized and get into the tournament and be one of the, let's say the reason you don't do this is say they get in the tournament. After being the villain, they embrace this villain role and they get the damn doors blown off them in the first round. Then what? So you done ruined the reputation of your program after doing the middle finger. You done embarrassed the rest of your college by getting the doors blown off you in the tournament. Nobody will bring you. You're not going to get back in. If an undefeated season wasn't enough to get you in and beat a team in the first round, you ruin it with that. To me, that just ruins your whole reputation. So it's a big risk.
I don't know that it necessarily ruins it. Like, what if they go undefeated next year? They're not going to get invited to
then we're just going to think, oh, this is just an arrogant team that's going to get the doors blown off them again in the tournament, just like they just did.
I mean, that happens. I don't know. I just feel like we're talking about it. It's created this, extra layer to this team. Everybody was now talking about, is this good for the game of college basketball? And it's just morphed into something else. Is, oh, this team isn't being respectful of, well, nobody has respected them. I mean, you've had, like you said, some people on their side. You've had other people who are like, they're beating teams, but they're only doing it by 1 or 2 points. Who cares? This team is undefeated and is going into the MAC tournament. And if they get beat by Akron, let's say, in the championship game, you don't think they're going to get in the tournament? If they don't get in,
they'll just get the doors blown off them again in the tournament.
I don't know about that.
If you can't beat Akron, you're not going to do anything in the tournament. I'm sorry. So
I still think that the way that this team has played,
I just don't think they're in a position to do this. It's risky. This is really risky. Now, Duke and Kentucky can get away with this because they're freaking Duke and Kentucky. they can get away with doing the middle finger. Miami, Ohio is trying to fight for their program and trying to fight to get people in their stands and try to get more people behind them. That way, people like Bruce Pearl can try to talk them out of the tournament.
I think this just rallies the fan base that much more. I mean, they've sold out stadium or arenas for the last 2 months.
Yeah, before they did this.
You don't think people are going to show up to the MAC tournament now because a couple middle fingers towards some students?
You think this is WWE or something?
I'm just saying this
isn't scripted.
No, but this creates people wanting to go to the MAC tournament and cheer against them. That's what I'm saying.
Lucky for you, we have a guest coming on that has some experience in basketball. Is a little bit more knowledgeable than you, I assume.
And knowledgeable than me? What?
Maybe he could be, he could be the one to put you in your place. But we got Garrett Martz from the Fort Wayne FC joining us. What's going on, Garrett?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. I know we're not bringing you on at anything college basketball related whatsoever, and DC's trying to interject you getting some comments here on Miami of Ohio basketball, but we'll just move. We'll bring back the conversation later after Garrett leaves. All right, DC.
Well, I'm happy to chime in. I missed part of the beginning. Probably. Are you guys? Is it more if they should be in or not, or is it more the middle fingers after the game?
It's more middle fingers after the game.
I said I told him, Garrett, I said I personally feel like they're really not in a position to do this kind of thing. Duke and Kentucky can get away with this because they're Duke and Kentucky. This is a program I believe that is trying to fight for not only trying to fight for their right to be in the tournament, but also to keep their reputation strong. That way, if they get the doors blown off them in the tournament, after doing this, then your reputation stays strong.
Yeah. It's definitely, to me, it's like it's a bad look for them to do that, but I don't think it's the end of the world. So I'm kind of in the middle. But yeah, I think anytime you do something like that, it's better just to ignore the fans and then just hold your head up high and go out and make them, hey, beat us, if you hate us that much. But I don't think there should be any repercussions, or I don't know. I think it's such a it's just kind of the day we're in now where everything's on camera and caught. If this happened 20 years ago, it probably would have been a nothing story. But should they have done it? No. Should it negatively impact them? I don't think it's a big deal. That's kind of where I stand on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to something that you're more interested in these days, and that's Fort Wayne FC. Again, he is Garrett Martz, Director of Corporate Partnerships for Fort Wayne FC. He's rocking the Fort Wayne FC gear on right now. And they started the season last night in Naples. It came to a 2-0 loss, unfortunately, for the season debut. But just overall, how was last night received, in the Fort Wayne FC community? Obviously, they were live streaming the game at J.K. O'Donnell's. What was your reaction to just seeing everybody ready to go for last night's match?
Yeah, I think it's been incredible, the response we've had from the community. Last night was a great example. As you mentioned, we had a watch party at J.K. O'Donnell's, and we had that side room they have, full. I wasn't able to attend, but I know we had some staff there, and it sounded like it was a great turnout, great, energy, even though the game didn't end like we hoped. And even before that, we did a kit reveal where we revealed the new jerseys up in Auburn at Cruz Plaza, and we had about 450, 500 people turn out for that. So, and I didn't know what to expect. I've never been, soccer. It's kind of a kit reveal. It's kind of a unique to that sport. So I was like, are we going to have 50 people, 100 people? And it's like, no, we had 450. So I think people are buzzing, are excited. And, obviously we want the team to win, but at the end of the day, it's all new and we're getting started. And I think we're excited to have the community buy-in that we've had.
Yeah, like the last night, the victory wasn't, I don't think it was the end all be all. Obviously, the first game as a professional soccer club right here from the 260. With that being said, what do you think, although it ended in a loss, what did last night's game mean for not only the franchise, but the city of Fort Wayne?
I think it means a lot just to have pro soccer back in Fort Wayne and to get that first game under our belts. We have a younger team. I think we're probably one of the younger teams in the league. So, it takes some time to get that experience and get everyone in sync. And also at the beginning of the season, there's always, issues especially with soccer, with visa, because a lot of the guys are international. So I know we've had some guys we're still trying to get in, but visa issues are setting those timelines back. But I thought, and I come from the world of basketball. I'm still learning a lot about soccer. I'm becoming a fan. So I wouldn't say my analysis, but I watched the game last night on ESPN Plus, and I thought we looked really good, and we had some near misses where we could have had some goals there and some. So I thought it was a very respectable, good performance to come out the gate with, and a lot to build on.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you come from the world of basketball, and you were, formerly with the Mad Ants when they were here in town, and obviously you were, helping grow that, franchise into, what it ultimately became, and one of the more popular events here in town. Now that you've been with Fort Wayne FC for over a year now, is there any parallels you can draw from your time with the Mad Ants and how this has grown and just grown in just the last handful of years, and what kind of growth you've seen over just the last year?
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. I think with me, my position, I'm the director of corporate partnerships. So mostly it's finding sponsors who want to advertise, market at the games, and do collaborations. But also there's a lot of other things you're involved with, like in the community, with getting our players out to clinics or appearances and things. And I think it's really just different sport, but kind of same thing, for my view of it. And the big thing that I try to do and mirror from those Mad Ants days is, hey, we got to get out in the community and set up all these clinics where we're out in front of those kids. And that's one thing I think people aren't even aware of in Fort Wayne is, even if you're from here, that how big that soccer community really is. You have Fort Wayne Sports Club, Fort Wayne United, all these different youth leagues, C3 Sports, St. Joe Soccer, all YMCA soccer programs. And you have all these families kind of looking for that something that, hey, that my kid is in this sport, they want to go see it. And now we have that here in Fort Wayne. It was kind of the same with the Mad Ants, and it takes time. You got to get out in front of people. You got to get that excitement build up. But I look at it as very similar. I'm kind of using a lot of the same, model that I use with the Mad Ants of how we ramped up. Because, it's hard. Fort Wayne, there's good and bad because you have such a strong minor league community already with the Comets and Tin Caps. So you kind of want to come in strong and deliver the same product, that the same level that they are. So that's what we're all about, is we want to be a kind of an equal sports partner here in town. And I think especially once the stadium is done and you're going to see, wow, this is just amazing. The quality of the venue, but also the level of play as well.
So what also excites me, not only just for having professional soccer back in Fort Wayne, but like what also is exciting me is the stadium. That is, I think, is the biggest talk around the Fort Wayne FC right now. Is there anything that you can talk about in terms of an update for anyone about the stadium that's being built for the Fort Wayne FC?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely go on our website, check out all the renders and things. And obviously, if you're just driving down I-69, you can see it right off there off of Illinois Road and Bass Road. If you're driving northbound right after you pass Illinois exit, you can look to your left and you're going to see all the updates. I think the biggest question we get about every day is, hey, is the stadium going to be, is it going to be ready in time? And, at that kit reveal party, our COO Scott Spro made a strong, hey, it's going to be ready. And I get people's questioning. It's an aggressive timeline, but there's a lot of things that are on our side with it as far as it's privately funded. We don't have to worry about guys getting pulled off of the job to go take care of something else at the city. This is all private land, private money. And, and the guy behind it at the end of the day is Mark Music of Ruoff Mortgage. And, he's the guy that tends to get stuff done. So I'm confident we're going to be ready to go. Will there be some amenities we're still figuring out or still finalizing? Maybe, sure. But I think we're going to be ready to go. And I'm excited. And yeah, just check our website, our social media. There's always updates, or honestly, just drive by the site. You'll kind of see. It's exciting to me. I try to not get in a wreck every day. I'm trying to look over what's new, what's going on when I go to the office and without causing a rear end collision or something. But no, we're excited. Scott mentioned in an article with the Journal Gazette, Scott Sproat mentioned that he's excited for May 3rd, the day after than the actual May 2nd, just because then we'll have that game under our belt and be kind of ready to roll. And it's like any new thing like this, even with the Mad Ants, that back in 2007, our first game, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of moving parts, and that was with a building that's been there for 50 years that we knew what we were working with. Now it's trying to figure out what's going to go here and what sign's going to need to go there. How's the video board tie into this? All those little things that maybe people don't think about are what we're kind of focusing on and getting ready. But yeah, that's kind of the update. We'll be ready to go and just, follow along and you can see all the updates.
Yeah, I drive by it every single day on Bass Road, on my drive into work, and I'm like, oh, what are they working on today? Are they working on the roof, or are they working on spray painting all those steel beams? It's a lot of work to go into that, and you can see that they're making progress every single day out there. For you, what has been some of the challenges over the last year of trying to get interest in Fort Wayne FC. Obviously, they've had the established brand for about 5 years or so. When they were back in the even I can't even remember what the league they were in before, but they've slowly worked their way up into the USL and now into USL 1. What has some of been the growing pains, so to speak, over the last handful of years?
Well, I can't speak for everything from going back before I started, but I think in general it was kind of a best kept secret in Fort Wayne. Not everyone knew there even was a soccer team here, and we were in USL League 2, which was a pre-professional league. It was where basically college players are playing during their off season for us, and we're taking care of their housing and everything. But it's college players, and then kind of now educating people. Last year when we were at St. Francis, Bishop Darcy just, hey, we're here, we're getting ready for this big jump. Check us out before that, get your kind of foot in the door. Now it's more just educating people that now we are moving up, and we're going to be at a higher level. Where is the stadium? What's that going to encompass? What's all going to be there? So I think just making sure we're doing the outreach that we need to do, continuing to build those relationships. I'm big on, we need to have relationships in that youth soccer community, because that's where your future fans are going to come from. That's also where your future players can come from. One thing, and we haven't talked a lot about because it's a couple of years down the road, we want to have where we have most of the players on the team are from the Fort Wayne area, at some point, or at least maybe more than half. And that's a big thing with DeMarcus, is to build that local youth movement. And have them all kind of come through the club in that way. Honestly, speaking of challenges, the biggest challenge for me, not so much is from where we were in previous years with the team, but from my background with the Mad Ants, and Scott Sproat's background with the Comets, we're used to at games, you have all these timeouts or intermissions or breaks. And with so I'm used to that. Where in soccer, you really just have halftime. So my biggest challenge last year was, where do we do all the promotional things? How do we the sponsor stuff? So that was a big difference, was just having that small time period to work for, where the Comets you have 2 20-minute intermissions. Basketball, you always quarter break, timeouts. So that was the biggest challenge for me. Everything else is kind of, I feel like it's the same. It's just a different sport, but a lot of the other things doesn't make a big difference really.
Mm-hmm.
So Justin Cohn, Director of Communications, was on with Talking Sports with Jim Shovelin yesterday, and something that he talked about, which is a little bit more of his job description than yours, but I imagine something across the board you guys are all trying to do is bring interest not only from soccer fans, but also not soccer fans, people that aren't necessarily soccer fans, that you're trying to bring them in too, because they can enjoy. Why can't they enjoy professional sports in Fort Wayne as well? So from your perspective, which is, like I said, probably a little bit different than Justin's approach, but what route are you taking to do that, to bring in new partnerships?
Well, I think that's a great point. You want to have that casual fan. I think about the Tin Caps. I'm a baseball fan, but I'm not necessarily like a diehard fan, where I'm going more for the socialization, the atmosphere. And that's exactly what you want to create at the park. We're going to have a fan zone at the stadium where you walk in, you look to your right, there's going to be a futsal court, basically a mini soccer field that kids can play on, all the different bounce houses and things. And then right there next to it, there's a 70-foot, the Megatron bar, which is Alco sponsoring Modelo. And so you can have your beverages and socializing. And we have a standing room only area right there, kind of like the lawn that the Tin Caps have. So I think just making sure all that's done really well. And then what promotions can we tie in, having, military night, having this soccer mom night, youth soccer, where you get people out to try it for the first time, or maybe they're just coming to a game because their kid's doing something there or whatever. But then they're, wow, this is amazing. They're going to come back. So making sure whatever we can do to make sure the atmosphere is where, wow, I want to do this again. I want to come back. This was so much fun. And again, kind of like what I said about the Tin Caps, where, hey, I didn't see a single at bat, but I had a great time because I was enjoying some beverages, talking to friends and things, and just how cool the stadium is. So that's really I think that if you do that, people will come back. I think the buzz is going to continue to grow as we get closer to that home match opening up. So I'm not really worried about that. It's just more, getting people to try it out and making sure from a sales standpoint, you're doing the proper outreach. You're getting in front of everybody so they know what's coming up. And you're going to have people that may be like, oh, we'll see what happens. So then we got to make sure we do a good job of delivering. So then they see what happened and now they want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up something that I didn't even realize about, the promotional entertainment, during the game. Like you said, because the Tin Caps, they have half innings, every 10 minutes, so there's always something going on, and there's the action is constant on the soccer field. So yeah, that was I never even thought about how difficult or that challenges could be. What you mentioned a couple of, obviously you had time here locally with the Mad Ants, and Scott was formerly with the Commons. What influences did you take from the other sports teams in town? And I imagine, because there's people that have crossed over with other sports here in town and other franchises. What influences or what have you been able to gain from them to influence in how you guys are going to approach this first season in the new stadium?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some similarities and also some big differences. I think with the comments you can take from, hey, the entertainment factor, that every time there's not play going on the ice or something going on at the intermission, something that you're going to watch, something on the video board. In the Tin Caps, I think the biggest thing is just, wow, what a gem, what a beautiful ballpark that is, and all the amenities there. And we need to be able to compete with that. And again, like all the sports teams in town, it's not like we're Pepsi and Coke. We're all kind of, we get along, but obviously we're all trying to go after the same corporate dollars, the same people spending money at the entertainment dollars. But at the end of the day, we want to get along. And, even with the Tin Caps, we really went out of our way of scheduling to make sure we're not going head to head with them. I think there's like 3 games where we couldn't really avoid, but other than that, we don't want to play on the same day as them and make people choose. That's just stupid for both people. So, but yeah, I would say just the Tin Caps, what a great job they do with that ballpark. And then the Comets, what they've done as far as all the different entertainment, all the things are just ingrained now with Comets fans, the Chuck-a-Pucks, the things like that you think about, and how do we build our own like that. And with that said, also to kind of keep it under the soccer umbrella, where, if you watch soccer games, it's a lot less NASCAR and a more F1, where it's not as all the logos and things. So how do we, like for my job, how do we really represent our corporate partners well and make sure they're spending their dollars and getting the most value out of it, but also keeping it kind of clean and just uniform across the board, where it's not, again, there's just logos everywhere and what's what, and making sure they stand out in the right way, but also keeping that clean kind of soccer image.
He's Garrett Martz, Director of Corporate Partnerships from Fort Wayne FC. They got their season underway last night. Unfortunately, it was a loss, but they have another match, I believe, next Saturday. They're still down in Florida, but then they will come home eventually on May 2nd to open up Fort Wayne FC Park. And, hopefully you have a whole lot of people out there. And I can imagine the excitement is just building by the day out there for you guys. So hopefully, you guys have a continued success, and hopefully that stadium is done. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the everything that has been coming along with you guys. And hopefully that it's going to be a raucous environment on May 2nd. And thank you for coming on the show today, Garrett.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on. It's helping spread the word. It means a lot, and it's important to have guys like you in the community supporting all the local sports. So thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on, Garrett. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yep. That is Garrett Martz from Fort Wayne FC joining us here on the show. And it's super exciting to see this franchise grow from where it was. Because I don't even, if you remember, DC, we had Mike Avery in studio when they were first announcing Fort Wayne FC back in the day. I think 2018, I want to say. I think their first season was 2019 here in Fort Wayne. And just to see where that program, that organization has grown just in a short amount of time, to where they're building a new stadium, and it's going to seat, I believe, 8,000 people and have much more capacity for potentially outdoor concerts and stuff like that. So it's not just going to be used just for soccer, but I think other stuff as well. So I'm excited to see what it looks like, and I'm excited to see how this team kind of continues to grow. As you said, they're a young team, and it should be hopefully a raucous environment for that first match on May 2nd.
Yeah, young team also joining the professional ranks at the same token. So still very excited, man, getting this kind of stadium, this kind of amenities built right here in Fort Wayne, in our hometown where we grew up. Something that's been longly desired. Still would probably like a basketball arena at some point as well, in addition, but I'll take this one. Soccer is obviously, having another professional soccer team in the area, you got to have a legit stadium. You can't keep playing games at Bishop Darcy. It only makes sense to get your own stadium. So very excited for that. And being a new soccer dad, right?
Yeah.
I got 2 kids on the soccer team in middle school. So looking forward to taking them to games to enjoy it. And it sounds like it's going to be a nice environment. There's going to be stuff for the kids to do. It sounds like it's going to be a lot like the Tin Caps. So I'm looking forward to checking out the Fort Wayne FC and Coach Mike Avery. So we'll get to dig into the team a little bit and the talent on the team with Coach Mike Avery later on this week. We have an interview with him that'll drop on our YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in learning more about the team itself. Man, just want to hear from Mike Avery, who's the longtime coach of the Fort Wayne FC. That'll be a good chat to check out as well. But yeah, soccer is growing not only locally but globally, man. It's amazing how much soccer just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and quite possibly Ted Lasso might be the thing. How big that show's gotten,
I don't know if I would necessarily give that show all the credit, but
Ted Lasso gets all the credit, brother.
I would give it a little bit, just a little bit of credit. And I think it does help, and I think it does help that the World Cup is going to be in the United States this year.
Yeah. And
I think that having that coincide with the first season of Fort Wayne FC and the new stadium, I think that hopefully they'll benefit off of some of that buzz and that juice of soccer, because I remember even watching the World Cup 4 years ago. I'm not the biggest soccer guy, but I'll watch the big matches. I'll watch Team USA. I'll watch Team USA when they're in the World Cup and some of their bigger matches, like with Mexico and stuff like that. And it's just, hopefully they can, like you said, get some of that off there. The youth movement is going and trying to get the youth excited about the organization as well, because it's a huge, I think it's just it's been untapped for quite some time, is the youth soccer around here, and just the excitement. Because if you go down, any park during the summer, there's soccer going on all the time. I remember even like driving down, I think it's Bluffton Road, and going by Foster Park West, there's those soccer fields, and those suckers are packed during the week.
Can't even get a parking spot.
I know, and it's like, this is crazy. So
park across the street at the Shell's gas station and walk over. You're tired by the time you get to the field.
But it's not just in Fort Wayne. I grew up in Noble County, and West Noble is, a huge Latin population over there, but a huge soccer community over there as well, that they are just sending guys from West Noble to play college soccer and to play in, the lower professional leagues. I believe they had, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, Macias. I think it was Julio Macias. I think it was the last name. And he, I believe, played on Fort Wayne FC in the first couple of years of the organization, but also played in some professional leagues and overseas as well. So there's just so many communities in our area that are soccer, crazy, that I think that will benefit this organization going forward. And like you said, I'm excited to be out at the new stadium, because there is not just the soccer, but everything else that comes with it, as far as taking the family out there and having a good time out there. And I'm hoping it's done, because I drive by that stadium every single day on my way into work, and
I do not.
You're just thinking in 2 months this thing's gonna be done.
I haven't even seen it yet. I haven't even
seen dude, you got to at least drive by it once. It's massive.
I work from home, brother. I work from home.
I know you work from home.
Drop the kids off at school, back at home, clock in.
I know, but
I gotta get out more, man.
Even if you just come to the southwest side of town. Just drive down I-69. Just drive down I-69.
I have everything out here in Huntertown that I can get over there.
Well, maybe you could come see me and come over to my house any once in a while, you know?
Why? So you can invite everyone else over for your Super Bowl parties and game parties that you be having without me now? Anyway, so nobody does this better than our show because we can talk any sports on the fly. But I thought this was an interesting on this day here.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Frazier defeated Muhammad Ali in 1971 on this date. Fight of the century. Man, how far boxing has fallen since then. My goodness.
Isn't Mayweather and Pacquiao, are they going around again? Is that later this year? I think it's on Netflix.
I don't even know when it is. It's one of those situations. It's like, really? Like that's just an example of what I'm talking about. How far boxing has fallen.
Yeah.
Like both are retired boxers, and we're just gonna throw them back in the ring. Well, they're both broke now. They spent all their money, so throw them back in the ring. It's like,
yeah,
it's terrible. Like,
yeah,
and it's like it's one of those situations that you hate it, but you're still gonna watch it. You're still gonna watch it, or at least. If not watch it, you're still gonna look to see who won, see the results.
You're gonna
who
see
got
the
knocked
clips.
out.
Yeah, you're gonna see the clips on social media.
Yeah, it's like one of those situations. But yeah, boxing has fallen a lot, and it started with the Jake Paul, dude.
Yeah, I watched Paul versus Tyson. I tried to, anyways. The stream for Netflix was terrible. It kept buffering all the time. I think they fixed it. They've grown a couple of since that. I think that was last year, a couple of years ago. The broadcasts have gotten a lot better. Obviously, since they stream.
That was the early days.
Because now they're doing NFL games as well, so it's gotten a lot better as far as streaming it and not.
I wish the games buffered when I watched Purdue. Make me turn.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Maybe turn the channel.
This Purdue team sucks. Okay.
Still better than IU.
This IU team sucks. Okay. They both suck. It's terrible. I watched both games yesterday. Purdue plays no defense. Indiana plays no defense whatsoever. IU is going to lose to either Northwestern or Penn State in the Big Ten tournament. Purdue's going to beat whoever that team is that defeats IU because they're on course to play each other in the Big Ten tournament. I don't know if you saw the bracket.
We're getting a Brice crash out this morning.
I don't know if you saw the bracket this morning, but IU is locked in at the 10 seed and Purdue is the 7 seed. So if Indiana beats whoever that 15 seed is in the second round of the Big Ten tournament, they'll play Purdue.
The official bracket's out? I thought it was just projected still.
It's not completely filled out because there's still games today, but those Purdue and Indiana are locked into their seeds no matter what happens today.
Gotcha.
So they're on a collision course potentially to play, and I could care less. I could care less about this Indiana team. I think Purdue is going to get into the NCAA tournament and lose in the first round. That's going to be my upset pick, and I'm tired of it. I don't think. What do we got here? The bracket right now. So we have Indiana versus Penn State Northwestern winner right now. And then, the third round is Purdue versus that winner. So I think there's still some shuffling that could go on with because Michigan and Michigan State both play today. And it's unfortunate. Because I cared about this team so much just even a couple weeks ago. And they've lost in the last 3 weeks. Indiana has faced 4 NCAA tournament teams. They lost to Purdue by 20 or 29, Illinois by 20, Michigan State by 13, Ohio State by 13. None of these games were even as close as that. All those games, Indiana was down by 24 yesterday. I didn't even watch the second half. I didn't even watch the Minnesota game that they won by 30 this past week because I was like, whatever happens, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They could win that game by 30, and it's not going to affect me at all as a person.
You Hoosier
Great.
fans are funny.
Great, they won. Who cares? Let's move on to next year. This team isn't going to play in the NIT. They're not going to play in the NCAA tournament. Let's move on. This team stinks.
Wait, I'm sorry? You don't think they're going to make the tournament?
The NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
You think IU's going to make the NCAA tournament?
Look. Like, okay.
Out. Get them out. Even if you think they're in, don't put them in.
Why not?
I wouldn't even put – this team stinks.
They'd beat Miami, Ohio if they played each other.
Probably. Maybe. Probably not, honestly. This team is soft. This team can't guard. This team doesn't play together. You bring in 3 transfers who are 4-star transfers, Reed Bailey, Tucker DeVries, the damn Nepo baby. And you also bring in Josiah Miles, who can't play a lick of defense. This team stinks. They can't. There's no creation on offense. There's nothing.
I agree with that for sure. That offense, they look confused. Like I don't even think there's a system offensively. Like it feels like if we just like went up to the court at the Y and just play pickup basketball. Sometimes that's what IU's offense looks like. And it's like
I get it. You
practice all week, and this is what you practiced. This is the end result.
Yeah. I can't watch this team anymore. The only shining spot is Lamar Wilkerson, and I hope he plays. I hope he plays in the pros somewhere, whether it's here in the NBA or the G League or somewhere overseas.
Her first vehicle.
I hope he has a nice pro career. Everybody else, go coach some high school basketball. You just stink. This team is so frustrating.
I don't know who makes me more mad. Like, so who is the most disappointing player of them all? Because, like, I think of DeVries first because he's had, especially at the beginning of the season, Tucker DeVries had a couple good games. Nick Dorn, like, I'm not even an IU fan. He irks my nerves. He has all kinds of potential. It just doesn't feel like he knows it. Like, he just doesn't know what he's capable of. On the IU team, who like, do you feel is the biggest disappointment?
It's either Tucker or Reed Bailey. I had more high hopes for those guys, and I do feel bad that Reed Bailey he got booed against Michigan State, and it was I don't know because even like the play that got plastered all over Twitter was him being lined up against Jeremy Fears from Michigan State, who he's like 5 inches taller than, and still he didn't even try to back him down. He immediately looked to pass the ball. And I get it. It's an unfortunate still shot if you just take a picture of it. But even watching it in the moment, I was like, go, drive at him, pack him down. You have the mismatch. And then he passes it out. I'm like, oh, what are we doing? Like, there's just no toughness. This team is soft. They don't, just go at you at all. And it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. And similar to Purdue, they can't play a lick of defense. They can score. They got in a track meet with Wisconsin, but if you want to talk about a team that can score, it's Wisconsin. They are one of the best offenses.
Boyd and Blackwell lit Purdue up.
I know. They can score with the best of them.
They both had 20, didn't they? They both had 20 plus.
Yeah. And those guys can create. Purdue also has nobody who can create. It all has to be within the flow of the offense. They don't have a guy that is like a Jay Ivey who might get the ball with like 5 seconds to go. He's not just going to look to pass and try to create. He's going to create on his own. And I just don't think you have anybody on either of these rosters, Purdue or Indiana, that can create offensively, be athletic enough to get to the rim or create an open shot. It all has to be within the flow of the offense. And that's just where you're going to get stuck in these tournament games. And they just don't have anybody that can create. Because, like, even in the Northwestern game earlier this past week that Purdue barely won, Braden Smith had like 2 points with like 5 minutes left to go. Like,
I remember
that's unacceptable.
Yeah,
unacceptable. You can't.
He was the player that when we had our buddy Rayfield Davis on from the Big Ten Network, he was the player that we all three talked about that needed to step up and be a leader. And he did that, in the game against Wisconsin. I thought he stepped up a little bit, but in that game, I thought that was the Fletcher Lawyer show. I felt like he played the best game that he's played all season. The problem is they just got to, like you said, they got to play some defense because they can score 93 points, but if you let the other team score 97, you're not going to win many basketball games. So got to get that together. But offensively, that was one of Purdue's best games all season.
It was, but you on the other side of that, you can shoot well, but you got to be able to get some stops, man. Like it felt like constant field goal make. Like I think they showed a graphic on the game, like 6 straight made field goals at one point.
It's weird because my vibe with Purdue right now would shock you because I'm usually very negative about Purdue, but I'm honestly after the Wisconsin game, I feel a little bit better. I know that sounds weird, but I didn't think they looked bad in that game. Like that was one of those weird games where I'm okay. Like defense, get it together, right? Mm-hmm. But other than that, from what I've seen offensively, and Wisconsin also, let's be real here, they had a lights out shooting game. Like there were some shots that were covered and they just knocked it down. Like they made some tough shots in that game. And a lot of teams aren't going to be able to do that. Wisconsin's got shooters. So I wasn't too down about that game against Wisconsin. Yes, it ended in a loss, but I'm okay with that, especially when I look across – from West Lafayette, and I look over what's going on in Bloomington, I feel a whole lot better at what's going on.
I don't know, man. I just get more frustrated as the weeks go on, and thank goodness it's over. I don't have to worry about Indiana basketball.
Not over.
They'll play either Penn State or Northwestern in the Big Ten tournament, lose, and then it'll be over. They'll lose. IU needs to win 3 games at a minimum in the Big Ten tournament, and I don't think they have a good chance of winning 1. I just think that
I think they can win 1. You're too close.
No, I'm not too close. I'm
too close. They can win 1 game in the Big Ten tournament. That'll put them at 19?
They've already lost to Northwestern at home.
Yeah, I feel like that feels like eons ago though.
That was last week.
It feels like eons ago. They're a different basketball team.
Why? Because they beat Minnesota by 30? Who cares? Minnesota sucks.
They do. They're not as good as I thought they would be.
They're bad. I'm
bad. Trying, man. I'm trying. I don't think the Hoosiers are as bad as people think.
I think they're bad. They're not good.
You Hoosiers fans are just so stuck.
I just think this team.
Stuck. It's not the 70s anymore.
I know, but this team just has given up. This team has given up. I think they've given up. I don't think they're gonna have a good performance in the Big Ten tournament, and then the season's gonna be over. And thank goodness
it's good to know you're such a die-hard fan of your Indiana Hoosiers basketball club that you're ready to sign off, and the season's not even over yet. That's so disappointing, Brice. I'm disappointed.
The season's been over for about 2 weeks. Okay, once they went on that losing streak, once they lost to Northwestern at home, that was it. That was the final nail in the coffin for me. It was unfortunate.
I'll make you feel a little bit better. We got something better to talk about because we got some boys basketball teams rolling right now as we go into regionals. And one of the coaches that he got it to work. So he didn't have much faith in himself to get it going. I booked him and he's like, I'm old as dirt, right? I was like, Coach, you got this. Just click the link. We can bring you on. You got this. I had faith in him. Yeah. And he joins us right now. We got the head coach of the Homestead boys basketball team. We got Coach Chris Johnson. What's going on?
I tell you, I try to keep that a secret, DC. I didn't want to share all that information. I didn't want that to be out in public that I'm old.
Well, I guess I'm joining the journalistic club today. I guess I'm breaking news today. I'm taking a little bit of a different route, but I'm glad you got it to work because I really wanted to bring you on. I haven't got to talk to you all season, and I've watched your team several times. Yeah. So I just got to start off. How you feeling today? Sectional championship. It's got to feel good.
It's always, it feels great. Never gets old. I mean, I could do that for life as far as it keeps me young to hang around these young kids. And as long as they can put the ball in the basket and do what they're capable of doing, then it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, Coach, you had your team shot nearly 60% last night. Scored 80 for the second time this season. The last time he scored 80 points in a game was the first game of the season. So it felt like a good time. A good time as any to shoot that way. What do you attribute last night's performance to, and shooting that well from the field?
Well, I mean, I thought we moved the basketball extremely well last night. We shared it. We zipped it around the horn. We didn't hold on to it. We got an inside out. Everybody knows we want to get the ball to Welker. We were able to do that and get him touches. And then teams want to key on him. And then, Emil and the rest of the gang, Kuhlman, all of them came in and just did their job and were able to make some outside shots, really stretch the defense. And when you're able to make shots, you look like you can beat anybody. But, we were very fortunate last night. Things clicked our way. We were confident, and, hopefully we can keep it rolling to next week.
Yeah, and talking about Mac Welker, a guy that just surpassed 500 points for Homestead, and the guy I've seen him play with the Indy Heat, 6'7", about 200 pounds, one of the best players in the area. I just got to ask you about what he brings to your program and what he could potentially bring to a college program, because he's one of the most dynamic players I've seen at this level in a while.
Great young man. That's first and foremost, on and off the court. He works extremely hard at his craft. And again, to be a big time basketball player or in any athletic event or whatever you decide to do, you've got to put in the time. And that's what he does. When he's finished with practice, he goes on and continues with his shooting, continues with his footwork, his skill work. And it's showing, from where he was from his freshman year when we brought him up and played it, in the middle of the year to the end of the year, to last year. And then even now to this year, he's just getting that much more physical, stronger, more confident. He's always had great hands and great footwork. I think the sky's the limit for the young man. His name's going to keep on getting out there. He's going to have a great summer. I know he will. Hopefully we could continue to go far. That always helps, to get his name out there. But we're very fortunate to have a young man like him.
Coach, what the SAC felt like it was pretty deep this year, as far as teams, when you look at down, in the, just even in the standings, and it felt like any team could beat any other team on any given night or any given Friday night. Did that help you prepare just a little bit more? And obviously the SAC is usually, loaded, but it just felt like the depth of the conference this year was strong. Did that help you prepare for this postseason?
Oh, sure it did. I mean, I knew at the beginning of the year it was going to be a night in, night out. Anybody could beat anybody any given night. Look at the teams. We went in and beat Southside and Wayne, and then I think Carroll lost to those two teams, and then we come in, or Carroll comes in and beats us. So Northside took it to us when we played at their place. I mean, and it showed with them. I didn't see the game last night. I saw the score, but that must have been a heck of a ball game between Snyder and Northside last night at Northrop. But yes, on any given night, there's a lot of good talent here in the city of Fort Wayne, and I think anytime you're playing in this type of conference and the competition that you're going to get night in and night out is going to help you in the long run towards the end of the year.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about, a player that played at your program as well. That I'm a Purdue Boilermaker fan, so I just was curious if you've been paying attention to the growth of Fletcher Lawyer, who is one of the all-time greats at Homestead as well. Have you paid attention, and what have you thought about his growth at Purdue?
Oh, I mean, again, I guys, I've been blessed with just great human beings. And he's a super young man. You see him when he was a freshman. I think they showed Nick Ankerbrook was telling me that they were showing pictures because it was senior day yesterday of him as a freshman to then next year, and how much stronger he got and how he worked at his craft. I mean, what a hard worker, phenomenal young man. Yes, I'm a Purdue fan also. I was able to get to one game this year. I'm glad I wasn't able to go yesterday because that would have meant that we weren't playing. But I gave him a call and I said, I want to come to senior day. And then he happened to tell me it was on March the 7th. I said, well, I'm hoping we're still playing.
Right.
But I was able to watch a half of it. I didn't watch the second half. I think he had 23 points though, somebody said. But just a knockout, man, his knowledge of the game. I mean, he's going to go and be there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be a big time coach at some program. Very knowledgeable of the game, understands it, he gets it. But just a blessing to be able to say that I was able to coach him and be a part of that.
Yeah,
Is there
six for 9 from 3. Like
yeah,
that's
Pretty good.
always going to be his specialty, shooting that basketball.
Yes. Yeah, he made me look like I knew what I was doing for a few years when he was with us.
Is there any game that stands out when you think of when he was at Homestead? Is there any game that comes to mind of like a favorite Fletcher game that you were able to be a part of?
Well, I mean, they were all special. But I think the game that probably that I guess would stand out was when he had 50 at Marion, and I think that was a record of an opponent. I could be wrong on this, but it was something to where it's either an opponent or the record in that gym of somebody scoring that many points. But he was, each night was fun watching because every time he shot the ball, it felt like it was going in. I mean, that's how good of a pure shooter he was.
Yeah, and I know we talked about Welker obviously with his 1,000 points as a junior, which is crazy. But you have other talent on the team too that I really don't want people to forget about. I mean, I got to watch Jake Kuhlman a couple of times this season as well. He's a very talented player too. So what other players are some also contributors to the program as well?
Well, you start with what you just said. Kuhlman, I mean, he started for me. We brought him up, I think, about the 7th game of the year as a freshman. We were struggling. I think we were 3 and 4 maybe at the time. I remember the funny story with him is that I remember bringing him into the office, and I think it was the night before I called him, and we were about ready to play Hamilton Southeastern, who was very good that year. And I told him, I said, Bud, you're going to start dressing varsity. He comes into the office thinking, well, he's just going to be sitting on the bench. I said, no, it's a misunderstanding. You're going to be starting. And I mean, I think his face was about white as a ghost, but because I mean, it wasn't like we were playing, Little Sisters of the Poor or somebody like that. We were playing a pretty good team, and we're just throwing him out to the fire. And he had a great game. We kept it close. I mean, they ended up beating us, but he showed that he could play at that level. He's a hard-nosed kid. He wants to learn. He wants to be successful. He works extremely hard. I mean, he's always in there with the shooting machine and getting up his shots. So, I mean, that as a coach, that's what you want to see. Same way with Ryder Immel. Here he is, a sophomore. I don't even think he averaged double digits as a JV player last year, but he's averaging about 10 a game for us. He shoots about 43% from the 3-point range. Struggled a little bit against Southside, but last night showed what he could do with how well he shot the ball. I think he was 5 of 7 from 3. And anytime he's able to do that and teams have to come out and guard him, that just leaves our middle open. So, with those guys, and then Mason Weaver, there again, he's a freshman, playing middle school basketball last year, and we threw him right into the fire also this year. But he's a hard-nosed kid, defends, confident, understands the game, and that just means a lot when you have a kid out there that's just confident and understands, and you say it one time to him and he just picks it up, rather than over and over and over again with somebody that just doesn't get it. So it starts with those guys, and then the McNeese brothers. They have a lot of athleticism, size. they with Braylon, he can really stretch the defense with the way he can shoot the basketball, and Brogan, he's probably one of our better assist players on the team, because teams back off of him, and he's able to see the floor, and he sees people. So the Gavin Wells kid came in last night, didn't get a lot of playing time till last night. I looked down the bench. I said, "Hey, can you guard?" And I named a player on Wayne's team, and he goes, "Yeah." I mean, and that's what you want to hear as a coach. If he was shy and said, "I don't know if I can do that," but he was, "Yeah, I can guard him." All right, get in there, and he came in, hit a three. I think he had a couple rebounds, had a steal. I mean, so those are the type of kids that you want. We have a young group. We have a lot of sophomores on the team. We have a Brendan Lee kid who's another freshman that I think is going to be a really good one before it's all said and done. His dad years ago played at Heritage, big fella, and I think his son's going to grow a lot more to where he's going to get up to be about 6'4", 6'5", can handle the basketball. Got to get him to where he's not so shy about shooting it. And he came in and had 4 points in a matter of a couple minutes with at the end of the game last night.
Very talented team. And you go to regionals now. What do you know about Harrison West Lafayette?
I'm going to be honest with you. Nothing.
I was gonna say, have you ever? I don't think you guys have ever played them, have you?
I don't believe
either.
So.
I don't either.
I think that we may have played them in the summer when we were like down at Carmel or something like that in one of those shootouts. But, again, that's been years ago. I think we had Fletcher. One of my assistant coaches was saying when we played them, and I don't even, at my age, you don't remember. I don't remember any of that stuff. But I did give one of the coaches a call that, or texted him right before I got on with you, and told him I was going to give him a call a little bit later. They beat him early, about a couple of weeks ago. They beat him, so I'm gonna pick his brain a little bit. Then we'll start looking at film a little bit later tonight, tomorrow, and then start getting ready for him.
That's Homestead boys basketball coach Chris Johnson joining us here on the show after their sectional championship win over Wayne last night. As you mentioned, they take on Harrison in the regional next week. Coach, good luck next week, and thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for all you guys do. Much appreciated.
Thanks so much, Coach. Appreciate
you.
Coach.
Have a good one.
You too. Yep, he was able to get us connected here and get his connection to work and get on the show. I know. You didn't have faith in Coach. I had faith in Coach. I knew he was going to. I know you did. But yeah, I was looking at their schedule today, and I saw they were playing Harrison. I was like, I wonder if they ever played Harrison, because so many times you play like the same team in the regionals, and for Homestead, it's either a Westfield or a Carmel or a Fishers in the regional. But this time they're playing somebody who's on the western side of the state. They're playing Harrison. I think it's at Logansport, if I'm not mistaken, next week. And it's like, oh, I wonder if they've ever played them before. And like, nope, they have not played them, which is surprising with how many times Homestead is deep into a tournament that you would think that they've played most of the teams that are at the top of Class 4A, but not even in the regular season have they played them. So. But good luck to Coach Johnson, and he's always been a good guest. Always been a good guest on the show. He always been able to make us laugh, and he's always one of the good ones. So for sure. I just had like a little. He said "Little Sisters of the Poor" in there. So I was like, I wonder where that saying kind of comes from. Obviously, it's a religious saying. Yeah. And I found a funny ESPN article that the organization of Little Sisters of the Poor got upset at the Ohio State president for saying it one time back in 2011. So it was like, if you say it on a big enough stage, and the religious organization is going to come after you and come down on you for that. So useless knowledge for everybody there.
Hey, we all need it. That was useful.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the USA Team USA being in the World Baseball Classic. Have you watched?
Ooh.
Did you watch last night? They
I didn't
dominated.
get to watch last night, but I've obviously been following the WBC. I
Mhm.
think they're going to win it all, especially after looking at Japan and looking at them struggle against Australia. I think this might be the time USA takes that championship, that WBC championship. Japan, as of right now, I think USA would destroy Australia. So the fact that Japan struggled with them, and it could have just been one game. Like, I try not to take too much away, but so far right now, USA has been the most impressive team in the tournament. I know it's only been a couple of games, but I like their chances, man. They're hitting the ball. I don't think anybody's gonna be able to hit their pitching. They're stacked. It's gonna be tough. They're looking an awful lot like that Olympic USA men's basketball team right now. It looks that lopsided so far.
Yeah, they absolutely dominated. I think they only allowed 3 hits last night to Great Britain, and it was all to the same guy,
Yeah.
Eaton from I believe the Red Sox.
Red
He was
Sox.
the only one. He was the only one that had hits last
I
night.
hate the Red Sox.
Yeah, and everybody else was just able to do absolutely nothing. And it's
Schwarber though.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
that
You baby.
heck yeah, and it's crazy because you go in and you have like a Tarek Skubal who's throwing 100 from the left side, and then you can just bring in relievers that are also throwing 100. So like there's no relief. Like,
No.
hey, we're gonna see somebody that might throw just 95. No, everybody's gonna throw 100. They all have something nasty as an off-speed pitch, and it's just gonna come at you inning after inning after inning, and good luck hitting that. And then, oh wait, what do you have to face up next? Mexico, Paul Skeens. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous
Sorry, Mexico.
how much pitching talent, not just alone the hitting. Obviously, they're going to be a deep, very deep
Aaron
lineup.
Judge, like, come on, man. Like,
I know, and it's just like just the pitching alone is just absolutely nasty. That you just have to face that on. And anybody who's going to have to face it is ridiculous. And luckily, we get to see Skeens, Webb, Skubal, multiple times, because once they get into the tournament, you would expect, or the bracket at least, you expect those guys to pitch again and have good outings. But yeah, I'm excited. The atmosphere for tomorrow's game against Mexico in Houston, I think, is going to be insane, because it was a good atmosphere for last night's game. And they just absolutely dominated after a little bit of a slow start. They had a 5-run inning, and then it just, got out of hand from there. But I'm excited. Like you said, I don't know if really anybody's going to be able to challenge him, because I don't is Ohtani, he's not pitching, is he at this moment? So he just, so that's one feather in the cap for the US, because the last time that these two teams faced each other, Ohtani was pitching, and we had that. I rewatched it the other day. Came up on whatever feed I was on, the at bat between Ohtani and Trout the last time that those two teams faced each other, and it was just absolutely great. It was like 3 minutes long. Trout pushed him all the way to like full count, I believe, and it's just I hope we get something like that again, because that was just like two Goliaths going at it, and it just, unfortunately for the U.S., it didn't work out, but it was just a great all-time baseball moment for sure.
We're gonna get some in this WBC too, man. We're just getting started. It's early, and I think we're just getting started. There's gonna be some classic moments in this WBC too. There's so much talent across the board. I feel like baseball is just kind of like soccer, man. It's just getting bigger and better than ever before, and I'm gonna enjoy it, man. WBC's rolling.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. Like I said, we got Mexico in the final pool game on Monday night in Houston, and that should be a very good game. Is there anything else you want to get to before we wrap up here on this Sunday morning, DC?
I think we got it all in. We covered it all in an hour and 18 minutes. We got it.
We did.
We'll be looking forward to that Big Ten tourney. Keep our eyes on that. And, of course, baseball season's getting rolling. It's spring season, so we'll be talking some baseball on here, probably get some 10 Caps talk on here, rolling here soon. So a lot of stuff coming up. It's springtime, so this is my favorite part of the year.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking yesterday, I was like, oh, what are we going to talk about on the show? And it's like, it's jam-packed. We have so many things going on, especially locally. Like you said, we got high school basketball sectionals. We had Fort Wayne FC with their first match. We have Indiana and Purdue. We have the World Baseball Classic. I mean, we just had no shortage of topics. I felt like we could go for another hour or so if we wanted to, because there's even some NFL news, like Max Crosby's going to the Ravens. Like, that's absolutely insane. Especially, okay, now Joe Burrow has to go up against Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt for 6 games next year. You got to feel terrible for Joe Burrow, and he's going to be on his back. He's going to be on his back.
I'm a Broncos fan. Why would I care about Joe Burrow?
I'm just saying, the dude's been injured, and you got to feel for, because he's had no help. He's had no offensive line his entire career.
My focus is Bo Nix. Is he going to be good? I could care less about Joe Burrow, okay? And the Colts, I want to know who's going to be under center for the Colts, because it better not be Daniel Jones.
It's going to be Daniel Jones.
It better not be Daniel Jones.
Well, Anthony Richardson requested a trade, didn't he?
Don't need to be him either. We need some new blood. And a new strength and conditioning program, because they can't stay healthy. Something's going on. Every year, the injury report is like 3 pages long. What is happening over there? What is happening at Lucas Oil? Get it together.
Get it together. I feel you. All right, that's DC Hendricks. I'm Brice Vance. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Make sure you go follow us everywhere. Instagram, X. You can find us on Facebook as well. It's where our show streams live every Sunday morning, as well as some clips. We'll have interviews. If you missed any of our interviews with Garrett Martz from Fort Wayne FC or Homestead boys basketball coach Chris Johnson, we'll post those separately as well if you just want to watch those instead of watching back the entire show, but you should. You can also find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. We are a part of the Get Indiana Podcast Network. Make sure you go subscribe to their newsletter. You can find it at the top of their website, getindiana.com. For DC Hendricks, I'm Brice Vance. This has been the Sideline Sports Show, and we will see you next week.